Hey y'all, and welcome to a special edition of Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Charlie Kirk completely dismantles this woke college student. It gets brutal for this kid. But before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the key to solving Bidenflation for you. But more on that later. Now, let's get back into the video.
We're living through a decades-long inflation surge, and the best evidence you could see it either in the artificial boosting of profit-to-earning ratios. Go ahead.
Even during like Trump's administration, inflation was actually quite low, so that's not
No, it was low then, but
true.
it's not low right now.
Yes, but why was it low then? Would you say?
Well, because we had economic growth, and we weren't borrowing $2 to $3 trillion a year.
We actually were. We were borrowing quite a bit of money.
We were borrowing about $1 trillion a year.
Still quite a bit.
So we're borrowing about triple that right now.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
I mean, I think that's how the math works
so
out.
triple in the law of big numbers is a big deal. So borrowing $800 billion, not excusable. Borrowing $2.5 trillion, morally reprehensible.
Morally, why exactly morally is there a distinction between 1 and 3 trillion? Very arbitrary.
Because everyone here is going to have to pay off that debt, and that dollar that you think is going to have value is decreasing by the day. Whether you're pro-choice or Democrat.
But inflation is something that's going to occur no matter what. Sorry.
Can I finish? Okay.
I apologize.
It's okay. Inflation is not a guaranteed human norm. That's not true, but I'll get to that in a second. Every single person here, it will be harder than ever for you to own a home. So inflation is immoral because you're going to enter into a housing market where everything costs 3 times as much in the housing market than it did a decade ago. You will not be able to afford a down payment, let alone even be able to build the capital necessary for other goods and services that you might want to build wealth. And you know who does benefit is your parents' generation and baby boomers, no offense, that do own their assets and you won't. And so, secondly, inflation is a choice. It's not built into the human experience.
The human experience, sure, but the economic system, especially a capitalist economic system, it definitely is. How would you try to achieve 0% inflation?
0% inflation?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want 0% inflation.
So then it is built in.
Inflation...
And it is necessary evil.
No, I said I wouldn't want it. Okay. Moderate inflation is good for money velocity and for growth.
Yes.
But you need to manage that versus the growth rate, right? So this goes back to Milton Friedman's idea of the Chicago monetarism. You can laugh all you want.
Friedman? Yeah, all right.
Okay. What's so funny about Milton Friedman? The fact he's the greatest economist of the 20th century, or
qualify? That's I don't know. I wouldn't say he's exactly that.
So you're more like a John Maynard Keynes guy. So yeah.
Not necessarily. Okay, no. I just take a more broad approach than specifically Milton
we don't
Friedman.
need to have a central bank. We do have a central bank.
Okay. Bold claim. I'll follow you though.
You don't need to have a central bank.
I used to be very against the Federal Reserve as well.
Okay, I'm just saying you don't need to have one, but we choose to have one. The central bank has been overly politicized to try to stop, let's just say, natural economic cycles from occurring. Both administrations, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, have leaned on the central bank to use cheap money as a way to try to keep the good times flowing and the good times going.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's definitely for sure.
So we don't agree. Well, we don't disagree.
Yeah, but here's the other thing I would say. Going back to the mortgage rates, as you were saying, I would say that probably has a lot more to do with private equity buying up homes than the inflation rate.
Well, hold on. There's 2 parts to that. I'm not talking just about mortgage. Interest rates are up. I'm talking about just the asset price itself.
That too. I would say it's a lot more related to private equity buying up homes.
But why is private equity doing that? Because they have so much cheap money that we've put into the system. They don't have to do with it.
We're not really fully able to grasp quite yet. We don't understand how the economy has gotten so bad. And that's why we have on this show, special edition, Paul Stone, CEO and president of Colonial Metals Group, to help explain this phenomenon. Mr. Stone, glad to have you here.
Great to be here. Glad to be back.
Well, good. I want to start off with this question on the video. Why did the boomers get their economy and have it so good, while mine, millennials, and Gen Z, seems like we're never going to own a home?
The boomers actually did work in a country where the government wasn't interfering to the degree they are today, keeping those workers from enjoying their life and from affording and growing their income beyond the pace increasing of the cost of living. So if your wages go up this much, can we just turn real quick to the patented Karl Rove whiteboard? I'll just draw some ugly lines here to help people just visualize, just really quick. So if all of the decades before 1971, your wage growth outpace the cost of living increases, right? You flip that upside down, right? When you're printing money, you are causing commodities to go up at a pace faster than wages. So cost of living goes up faster than wages. The baby boomers were in here, right? The 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. In 97, they retired. So that's why the money printing has gone stratospheric, because you lose the productivity from this 60 million person workforce that's like a snake swallowing a football. Well, that big bubble comes out the other end as doo-doo. And when it retired in 97, you lost the productivity and you took on a massive permanent cost. So the money printing machine is insane for the last 24 years. You look at gold being 300 an ounce in the year 2000, the dollar's worth 56 cents. Today, the dollar's worth 3 cents and gold is 2,400. So pushing up on commodity prices causes youngsters like that to just be confused as hell. And, frankly, we all are. How could the government do this? It's the government solution set that's actually causing the hell on earth, trying to enjoy our living here. And we can't. We drown all the time. We drown. A lot of people need 2 or 3 jobs to be able to make it and have a family. Oh, are you seeing, baby rates dropping? It's just, how am I going to have a baby when my wife and I are just trying to enjoy, a weekend after having to work so hard just to keep up with zero?
That really is the truth, isn't it, man?
It is. The government is inspiring all of these troubles, all of them. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying they're not good at all at their job.
So what would be the solution then? Is it simply cut spending? Because we have to pay Social Security and Medicare. And when we try to reform it,
you don't have much at all without the printed money. Look, here's a fact. What's GDP, the financial output of America? You're always talking about 2% growth, 2% growth. You hear the word growing, you hear the word successful, you think Tom Brady's still playing for the Patriots and they might win the Super Bowl every other year. That's what your mind hears. Growth, good. Growth, strength. So what is GDP without the printed money since 2008? It's a negative number. It's a negative number. And when you go to shadowstats.com and you just look at a simple economic website that shows you the old-fashioned way of counting unemployment and inflation, unemployment by his old-fashioned numbers, the way they used to count it, is 25%. Does that figure into the misery factor and why people are wondering and so confused? So it's the government that's thinking it solves its problems with printed money, causes people to struggle and not have any. That's why I'm in the business I'm in. We're offering a solution. Well, we're not offering it. Gold and silver is a solution to, if things actually do go to zero, where would you have wanted your money to be located before that bust occurs, knowing the government isn't going to change its trajectory? It's a $1.4 trillion payroll beast. That's how much money the government, people working for the government and consulting with the government, contracting with the government, are paid each year. $1.4 trillion in salary. How's that going to be successful? How's that going to be efficient? How's that going to hear what you need? How's that going to give a damn about what you need?
That's a darn good question. I think we all know, and everyone in the audience knows, they don't care.
But I do care. I feel so bad for anyone who's coming up into the teens right now, their 20s, their 30s. I know it's a struggle. I know the government's in charge of that. So what do we do about it? Well, there's eventually a bankruptcy because they're burning a resource, right? So if you just think of the dollar as energy, isn't it the energy that causes you to be able to acquire energy? Think of it as a resource. It used to be worth 100 cents. Today it's worth 3. So it's almost exhausted. What does it support? Everything. What happens when it can't support anything anymore? Reality kicks in.
Why does this kid dislike freedom?
Freedom is scary. There's a spotlight on you to do well. I heard as a kid, I had tons of potential and this and that, and I blew most of it off. And for my youth and my 20s, I was just a train wreck. I was like a rocket ship with no rudder. There's no steering, just shot all over the place. And so I would think that confusion causes people to think, whatever you're titling this thing I live in, I don't like it. It's called a democracy. I don't like it. I'm confused. I'm not happy. There must be something wrong with democracy. So we need socialism. The problem with socialism is social engineering. So you talk about mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, water engineering, whatever that word is. You're working with something that's properties don't change. When you want to build a bridge, the concrete stays put, the steel stays put. When you're working with people, we move all the time. Our ideas change. We have health issues. We have all kinds of needs that are shifting constantly. You're never going to engineer that. That's why it's best to leave it as a democracy. But with a $1.4 trillion payroll government, the size of that, you don't have a democracy. You have confusion and you have futility and hopelessness. And that's why my heart breaks for anyone who, that kid who was talking, trying to, have some smarts and think there was a better way of going forward. The better way of going forward is a small government, which is what George Washington wanted when he fought and risked his life to have this country here in the first place. A small, tiny federal government.
Well, that's a very good way of putting it. Normally, I just chalk it up to the education system, but that's
too.
And honestly, a much
Sure.
better answer. And I think the final question here is, this kid is clearly in support of the Federal Reserve, but they have been in all kinds of shenanigans since they were created since 1913. Has it done anything good for the country?
I can't think of anything. I just can't. Just look at it this way. What if we put a committee of 13 people in charge of managing our nation's weather? So they could make it rain, not rain, make it sunny, not sunny, make it windy, not windy, make it snow, not snow. They would be giving snow to the ski resorts, right? They'd be giving rain to, let's do farming in Arizona. Let's make it rain there. Land's cheap. You can imagine what our life would be like if 13 people managed our weather. They would overshoot, undershoot. It would just be so screwed up. It would be hell on earth. So 13 people manage an economy full of 350 million people. It wasn't always 350 million people, but here's one measurement. Since the Fed was created, commodity prices are up 1,800% in the last 100 years. That isn't caused by having an ass-kicking, everyone's happy economy. It's caused by money printing. It's caused by shenanigans. It's caused by BS. It's caused maybe by 24,000 or 22,000 lobbyists feasting on 550 temporary workers in Congress.
Well, that's an absolutely condemning review. Mr. Stone, thanks for coming on. We always enjoy having you here. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on Political. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And Mr. Stone, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.